You're about to watch another video. A video not only about entertainment media, but history. A journey into useless information to fire your imagination. You're watching Pointless History. They say video games are bad for the youth. Whether the gameplay contains violent behavior, or the gameplay is literally bad. But what if I told you a video game has the potential to kill? It may seem impossible, but there may be a logical reason. Tonight's episode is about a classic arcade game that supposedly caused unfortunate events to happen. Events that can only be told and debunked on this episode of Pointless History. Berzerk was an arcade game released in November 1980 by Stern Electronics. The basic premise is you play a green humanoid figure armed with a laser gun and lost in a maze of armed and dangerous robots, all while avoiding lasers, the electrocuted walls, and an enemy far worse than the enemies in Action 52. They were so sinister, their smile will be burnt into the back of your cranium for life. They were purposely designed to be indestructible, an enemy that could be the cause of ill-fated events. Evil Otto. The first incident supposedly took place in January 1981, involving a 19-year-old named Jeff Dailey. He was playing Berzerk trying to get a high score, only able to get 16,660 points. Unfortunately, after getting that score and putting in his initials, he dropped dead from a heart attack. Rumors had started that it was because the number 666 was in his high score, and that Berzerk was a cursed video game. A similar incident happened on April 3rd, 1982, with an 18-year-old named Pedro Burkwoski. It was reported he played Berzerk for 15 minutes before getting his own high score and putting in his initials. He then went to a nearby arcade cabinet, dropped a coin in, and he too dropped dead from a heart attack. A third incident happened on March 22nd, 1988, involving a 16-year-old named Pedro Roberts and a 17-year-old named Edward Clark Jr. The story goes that Edward and his friends walked into the arcade and went straight to the Berzerk game cabinet, the same one that supposedly killed Jeff Dailey and Pedro Burkwoski. They found some coins on the cabinet, not knowing those were Pedro Roberts. An argument started following a physical fight between the teens and was broken up by a staff member. Pedro was kicked out first, following Edward and his friends about 10 minutes later. They were told to walk the opposite way that Pedro had walked to avoid any conflict, but the group didn't listen. This resulted in them walking past an alleyway where Pedro was hiding, who then jumped out and stabbed Edward in the chest, killing him. They say the reason for this fight was because of the spiritual possession by Evil Otto. You want to hear something coincidentally mind-blowing? Supposedly, all these events took place at the same arcade, Friar Tuck's Game Room in Calumet City, Illinois. Now, I think the question on all of our minds is, was this really true about this innocent video game? Now, there's logical reasons for almost everything, although no one can logically debunk the sleep paralysis creature that I see at night. But these incidents can be logically debunked. There's actually proof of Pedro Burkwoski's death from newspaper articles and archives. One article had an autopsy report about the teen having a 2-week-old scar on his heart tissue, and stating that he was overweight, leading them to believe that this was the reason for the teen's death. There's also a rumor that Pedro Burkwoski was a friend or an acquaintance of Jeff Dailey, which leads me back to Jeff's story. Supposedly, Video Ace, a discontinued video game magazine, got inspiration from the incident with Peter and wrote the story about Jeff Dailey. But coincidentally, there was someone named Jeff Dailey who, unfortunately, passed away at a young age. Many have done their own amateur investigations and came across an SSDI and confirmed that there was a 19-year-old with the name Jeffrey Allen Dailey who had passed away in a car accident in May 1981. It's possible that this inspired the story for Video Ace. And if so, that's pretty messed up, man. As far as trying to debunk the last story, well, it really happened. Minus the possession of evil Otto, that's just illogical. There was a real fight over coins left on the Berzerk game cabinet, leading to the death of Edward Clark Jr. Pedro Roberts was convicted in 1990 for the murder and sentenced to prison for 30 years. Although he supposedly served 18 of the 30 years, his whereabouts today are unknown. It said that both Edward and Pedro were always getting into trouble, and there was supposedly tension between the two teens before the terrible demise. The former owner of Friar Tuck's game room, Tom Blankley, later stated in an interview, "I'm not sure what happened between them prior, if there had been some bad blood for a while or what. I remember someone saying that Clark had stolen Robert's girlfriend or something. I don't know if that's true, but whatever it was, it got out of hand pretty quickly." There's also no debunking about the location of the two events, because it really did happen at Friar Tuck's game room. Now, in regards to debunking the possession of evil Otto and his powers, honestly, it's just a harmless urban legend that started and has been passed around for many years now. In fact, these events went on to inspire the Polybius urban legend, which I'll cover another time. But I can kind of prove that Berzerk is just a harmless video game and nothing more, by playing not the arcade game, but the Atari 2600 version. You see, it's just a harmless video game. It's not gonna kill me or anything.
I wouldn't say that if I were you.
Poor Devin Spangler. What he didn't know was that the home version of Berzerk was also plagued with causing wretched events. Events that can only be told, but not debunked, on this episode of Pointless History. Hey, don't worry, I'm not really dead. It's all for the sake of this video. I just wanted to say thanks very much for watching this Halloween special of Pointless History. Hope you all have enjoyed it, and hope you all have, or have had, depending on when I get this video out, a wonderful, spooky, and fun Halloween season. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you all in the next video.